And these guys go all around the country and do great presentations for us. And they're going to come on live now and do the presentations. So sit back, especially if you're guests, take some notes, and we'll get back to you at the end of this 30, 40-minute presentation. So, Kim, I'm going to turn it over to you, and thank you for joining us and giving us your time.
Hey, thanks a lot, George. I appreciate that. And I don't know if my camera is live here. You know, I can see George's, but hopefully
it is live.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, guys. I was just monitoring the chat room here, George, while you're turning the mouse over to me, and I'm telling you, this thing is on fire, you guys. I mean, both all across the U.S. and into Canada as well. We obviously, and I can see almost by the second here, we got more people coming on. So, George, you need to turn the mouse over to me, buddy, and then we can get moving here. I also got my good friend Michael Barbeck standing by, and he's going to be doing part of this presentation with me. So let me make sure that we can get this thing moving here. There we go. All right. So real quick, before we get started, I do need to point your attention to the official BEMER disclaimer. And it simply says, hold on here real quick. None of the statements in BEMER marketing and education materials or website have been evaluated by the FDA. They're not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease. Furthermore, none of the statements should be construed as dispensing medical device. If you've got any health issues, please check with your physician before you get on the BEMER. BEMER products are in no way a substitute for medical care. However, they are, in fact, FDA Class 1 cleared medical devices, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment here. Now, before we get started with the overview, let me tell you a little bit about how my wife Sherry and we got introduced to this. My son Trevor, as some of you know, many of you that have heard my story before, he's a professional golfer currently playing on the Asia Tour. And back in March of 2016, he had injured his wrist in a golf tournament here locally in Southern California. I live in San Diego, to the point that he had to withdraw, went to the chiropractor, they taped him up, and they said, you know, don't swing a club for 12 to 14 days, don't play a tournament for whatever it was, 4 to 5 weeks. And as a rookie on tour, he was obviously not a happy camper. And I was talking to my good friend, Michael Barbeck, we're going to meet here in just a moment. And I told him about the injury, and Michael said, well, why don't I just come BEMER him? I had no idea at the time what that meant. I invited Michael to come to the house, and for 3 days in a row, he came over, put Trevor on the BEMER, used one of the accessories right on his wrist. Now, those of you that are part of BEMER already, you know that I am not at liberty to give you his specific results because we're not allowed to do third-party testimonials. But the reason I tell you this story, the results were so dramatic. This was an injury that was supposed to take 5 weeks. We're talking 3 days. And that is the very reason why my wife and I are here today. As you can see on the slide, I do have a pretty substantial background in the business world, and specifically as it relates to the direct marketing world. So not only did we get a BEMER for us, we got a BEMER for him, we got a BEMER for other family members. As a matter of fact, last year I went back to my native Copenhagen, Denmark, and after putting my mom, who still lives there, 86 years old, putting her on the BEMER for 2 sessions, there was no way she was going to give that back. And that's part of the joy of this business, is that we get to share this incredible technology with people that we love and care for. So all of that being said, since we're going to talk about health and wellness here today, maybe a good place to start is by asking you, how do you feel? And you relate to something like this, you know, do you feel stressed? Do you have any sort of discomfort, restless, maybe low energy? I think most of us can relate to at least one or two of these challenges, right? So if you look at least the Western world, but this is very quickly becoming a global phenomenon, can we all agree that we are virtually in a right smack in the middle of a health crisis right now? As a matter of fact, obesity is at an all-time high, right? Diabetes had reached almost epidemic proportions, and it's no longer just for older people. We're talking teenagers that have those challenges. We're spending multi-billions of dollars on pain relief. As a matter of fact, we have a serious problem. If you don't believe me, it says it right here. Americans, they spend more on medicines than do all the people of Japan, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina combined. Now, I did this presentation at a live pre-academy event, I forget, somewhere around the US. And when I read this guy kind of raised his hand in the back of the room and he says, yeah, but they don't have as many people as we do. Are you kidding? If you added up all the populations of all these countries, you would reach over 900 million people. We got a little over 300 in the US, not counting Canada, right? And we're outspending all of them. It is definitely a challenge. Now, so here's the big question. What if you could enhance general blood flow and circulation, nutrition and oxygen supply to your cells, cardiac function, sleep management, metabolic waste disposal, removing that waste from your cells faster, physical fitness, endurance, concentration, mental acuity, stress reduction, and relaxation. And you could do all of this in a completely non-invasive, natural manner. Well, that is exactly what we're here to talk to you about this morning. So, real quick, here's what we're going to be sharing with you, Michael and myself, in the next probably 20, 25 minutes or so. First of all, we're going to introduce you to a completely disruptive technology. I'm going to explain to you in just a minute exactly what that means. And here's the good news. With BEMER, you're not having to cross your fingers and hope this thing is going to work, you guys. We have over 1 million satisfied users. Now, granted, they're mostly in Europe because that's where we've been operating the longest, but more and more certainly starting to realize the benefits here in the US. It's actually, the BEMER technology is currently being used in more than 4,000 hospitals, clinics, and universities around the world. When we were in Liechtenstein, where our company is located, nestled in between the Swiss and the Austrian Alps, and we saw the facilities, they also introduced us to the fact that this is being used in hospitals. Probably the most impressive of all is the NATO hospital in Budapest, Hungary, where they're currently doing 350 BEMER sessions per day. We saw ambulances where the device is installed in the vehicle, right? We have over 1,000 top-level brand name athletes calling this their secret weapon, many of them you know by name. And from a purely a business and a competitive standpoint, we actually hold 5 worldwide patents, which makes this absolutely untouchable from a business standpoint. And those of you left brain thinkers that are with us here today, maybe we got some engineers or scientists or medical doctors or mathematicians or whatever, right? I know, this has absolutely no value to you at all unless we can point you to where you can find published medical papers. So I'm excited to tell you that we will actually do that here in just a moment. As I said earlier, this is an FDA registered class 1 medical device, which basically means the FDA consider this safe to use, but we can't make specific claims for this. And Michael is going to talk a little bit more about this. And if you're talking for if you're looking for the ultimate validation, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Back in 2015, we signed a collaboration agreement with NASA. Now, NASA had been doing research on the so-called PEMF industry for a number of years because they were interested in trying to find solutions to health challenges that the astronauts they have when they come back from a trip into space. Sometimes they got vision issues, bone loss, muscle loss, and virtually every time they have massive circulatory challenges, right? And that is why when they found the patented BEMER signal, they knew that they were onto something special. So NASA actually reached out to BEMER and not the other way around. As you saw on the previous slide, this agreement was supposed to run till the end of 2018. Just a few months ago, NASA reached out once again and asked to please extend this through 2020. So we're excited about it, obviously. It's a lot of credibility, but it can also lead to a lot of other things in terms of future developments of this incredible technology. Now, what I'm about to introduce you to, myself and Michael Warbeck, is truly a completely new paradigm in health and wellness. It's a paradigm using completely revolutionary disruptive technology. Well, what does that mean? Basically, like the term says, it's a technology that either disrupts an existing industry, turns it upside down, if you will, or it creates an entirely new industry that we've never seen before. As an example, if you remember back when the cell phones, they were first introduced, right? They were kind of weighing 300 pounds. You almost needed wheels on them to haul them around, right? But was that disruptive technology? Absolutely. Why? because for the first time in history, you were able to take the phone with you. There was no cord attached. Now, fast forward till today, none of us own a cell phone today, right? What do we own? We own a smartphone. Was that disruptive technology? Yes, it was. It now took an existing industry and it revolutionized it by turning your cell phone into a handheld computer that, whether we like it or not, it runs our entire life, right? In my humble opinion, what you're about to see here right now has the possibility of being just as disruptive to the health and wellness industry as the cell phone and the smartphone they have been to the telecommunications industry. Thomas Edison, he says, the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but he will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. Ladies and gentlemen, what Mr. Edison was talking about is here today. It's a new era called bioenergy medicine. Now, you've obviously heard of pharmaceuticals, right? It's those little brown bottles that we got too many of in the cupboards, at least here in the US. Maybe you've heard of nutraceuticals, pharmaceutical grade nutritional products. There's even such a thing called cosmeceuticals, right? We are the global market leader in a brand new industry referred to as electroceuticals. And although this may be a term that you've never heard before, don't misunderstand the power of this. This is not some obscure little cottage industry. As a matter of fact, just recently, GSK and Google, they invested close to $750 million, and I quote, to research, develop, and commercialize the next generation treatments involving the use of electrical signals to cure disease. Now, I'm not saying we're curing disease, but they're saying that that's why they put $715 million into this industry. There must be something going on here, right? And as I promised, for those of you that absolutely must see the published scientific evidence, if you go to PubMed, P-U-B-M-E-D, PubMed.gov, that is a US government website, and you type in BEMER therapy. Don't just put in BEMER, you're going to get Dr. BEMER. He's got actually nothing to do with our company. Type in BEMER therapy, and you'll get enough information. You can lock yourself in a dark room for a day or so, and if that's not enough, the person that invited you here, they might be able to provide you with even more. So on that note, it is my privilege to introduce my very good friend, Mr. Michael Warbeck. As you saw, my background was very much on the business side. Michael's background is very much on the health, the science, and the athletic side. And I mentioned earlier that I was born and raised in Copenhagen, Denmark. How crazy is this, you guys? Michael and I actually grew up within about 15 minutes from each other. We both immigrated to the US in the mid-1980s. We didn't know each other. We met through a mutual friend about 8 years ago, have gone on to become very good friends, and here we are promoting BEMER all across the world together. And I'm excited about having Michael with me here today. He originally came to the US on a professional bicycle contract, kind of like the Tour de France guys, as you can see on the picture. When that career was over, he actually went on to do some acting in Hollywood. He was on shows like Dallas and Star Trek. And these days, he and his fiancée, Diane, they are two of the world's most renowned longevity research experts. They have traveled to more than 60 countries, studied why certain cultures, they live longer than others, their lifestyle, their eating habits, and so on and so forth. And Michael, thanks for being with us here this morning. I know everybody's eager to hear your BEMER experience, your results with this technology, but I'd also like, as you go through this brief overview, for you to share a little bit of your perspective from a longevity research standpoint. Why do you consider this the ultimate, not only health device, but anti-aging device?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me. And yeah, it's an exciting time because more and more major corporations and companies are beginning to realize what it is that we have our hands on, right? So let's look at first what brings you into, for instance, the doctor's office, right? As you can see at the top, these are called symptoms, right? Above the surface, and we have an all-time high of low energy. A lot of people like to walk into a bedroom like, okay, why did I walk in here? And I mean, again, the focus is not there. And there's just, if you're over 50, you have some form of discomfort. What I'm excited about to share with you is that with BEMER, right? BEMER operates below the surface. Now, Titanic, did not get taken out by the 7 to 10% you see above the surface. We got to go below. And BEMER is all about oxygen. It's all about uptake of nutrients. And it's all about removal of metabolic waste. And of course, that ties into your cardiac function. So again, this slide here, right, is really important because a lot of people, they're operating above the surface, but where we need to put our attention is below the surface. So let's see why that is, right? So here, if you understand this sentence, you'll understand the brilliance of BEMER because it's extraordinary, right? We have almost 100 trillion cells, but when you breathe in oxygen and when you take in nutrition, whether it's supplements or food, where does it go? Where is it needed? Right? Now you can see from this sentence that all the activity, all the actions takes place at the microcirculatory level, right? So that's where the cells are cleansed, and that's where the cells are nourished. That's also where the toxins are eliminated. Yes, we have arteries, we have veins, and we have the capillaries, right? But it's all about the small blood vessels. That is the key here, right? Now, in your body, right, you'll see that you have almost 74,000 miles of capillaries or small blood vessels. And this is a key point. And I just want to make reference to one thing. The American Heart Association, which is not a mom and pop shop, that's a major institution, and millions of dollars are given in funding to this type of research. Now they just in 2016 came out with a written statement, finally, November 4th, and said that serious diseases, we're talking about heart disease, brain disease, dementia, I can go with diabetes, I can go on and on. Where is the starting point for these serious diseases? It's in the small blood vessels. And yes, you have small blood vessels everywhere in the body. And that's the key here, right? You could wrap your small blood vessels around the earth 2.5 times. Now you can see also that your arteries and the veins that you have, right? That's a minor portion of your circulatory system. So this is why we're putting so much more focus on microcirculation, right? So again, when you look at this, right, and you start to understand how you function, right? This is why I love this slide, because this slide really brings it home. Just before I got on, guess what I did? I BEMER'd my brain. Why would I do that? Now you can see your head there, right? You happen to have 400 miles of small blood vessels in your brain. I am not about rah-rah. All I'm looking for is cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. As a longevity researcher, right? You look at stats, and you can see here with you have 11 systems in your body, but they're all interlinked to the circulatory system. So when you have a breakdown in one of these systems, you can always refer it back to your circulation. We know that the number one reason that we pass is from lack of proper blood flow or from circulatory reasons, right? So again, yes, all these different systems, if you will, right? They're not going to run if they don't get the circulation that they need, right? Because that's what brings it all around. Now, again, what is it that pumps the blood? Now look at this little video here. It's a fascinating video. Why? Because it's called vasomotion, right? And that's how blood moves in the small blood vessels. Yes, the heart pumps the blood through the arteries and the veins, but beyond that, right? The heart is not, if the heart pumped the blood all the way to your body, the heart would have to be massive. It's not. It's only the size of a fist. So again, the terminology that we use in medical terms is called vasomotion, and that's what moves the blood at a capillary level. Now here you can see with that video, right, that it's an expansion contraction that happens. And yes, when you're young, it happens 50 times every 10 minutes. But unfortunately, as we age, right, it slows down. And especially if you have discomfort, then it slows down even more. Right? So now here's a video that's going to show you the difference between good blood flow and poor blood flow. Right? And this was done at the Institute for Microcirculation in Berlin. And it's fascinating because, again, here's a visual that really shows you, right? Now here's a person, this is actually a person that's only in their 30s, right? They have stress, and now the blood is not moving, as you can see, it's just sitting there stagnant. Now here we got good blood flow, right? So again, ask yourself, would you rather have poor blood flow or would you have good blood flow? Now you can see the the white blood cells, right, which were going along the cell walls there, right? That's your immune system, right? So again, it's all about getting that blood flowing, and that's why I'm so excited about the BEMER. Now, I think a key point to why BEMER is so successful and why it's continuing to grow at the rate it's growing is because how often do you have to do this? And you do it 8 minutes twice a day. And I think this is really a key, because from a longevity perspective, what is my toughest challenge when I deal with individuals all over the world? It is, I have to change. I have to do something else, right? I had a gentleman that he had issues, and he actually, he needed the BEMER very much. And he saw the value and he had the money. And he said, Michael, I totally get it, but I got to tell you, I'm one of these guys, I'll start a diet, 6 days later, I'll fall off. I'll join a gym, 2 months later, I'm in the witness protection program. And I said, he said, so how do I know I would use this? I said, well, that's a good point. I said, but let me ask you a question. I said, I think when you answer my question, you're going to answer your own question. I said, what do you mean? Well, did you brush your teeth twice yesterday? I said, yeah. I said, okay, what was the last thing you did before you went to bed? Well, I turned off the light. I said, okay, what about the day before? Did you brush your teeth twice and turn off the light? He looked at me and said, Michael, I do that every day. I said, well, you just proved to me that you are going to be using the BEMER every day. That's exactly what you do, right? When I woke up this morning, I used it in the morning. When I go to bed, I'll use it again, tonight, right? So it's like brushing your teeth. It's simple, it's fast, it's easy. There's no change in your behavior. Now let's look at the technology for a second, right? So again, what you're looking at on the screen, these are what's called PMF signals, like this, a sinusoidal wave, triangle wave, trapezoidal wave. You can't patent those, right? Now look at the difference, because this is the BEMER signal. See, BEMER is called a product of one for a reason. Like it's in a complete different category. Now I'll show you a comparison that was done, and you can see the difference. And this was basically an independent comparison that was done with the 5 top PMF devices, and they were compared to the BEMER, right? And then in this particular case, we're looking at oxygen uptake or utilization. It's a 4-day comparison. So the first 3 days, all the devices were turned on to the manufacturer's specifications, and then on the 4th day, they all were turned off. Now, what we can see is BEMER is head and shoulders above anybody else. Like it's incredible. But not just that. Look at the residual effect. As soon as the other devices were turned off, they went to 0. Even when the BEMER was turned off on the 4th day, the residual effect of the BEMER was higher than when all the other devices were at their maximum turned on. This is extremely impressive, and this is why we're generating so much interest from professors, scientists, engineers, and hospitals and doctors. Now, the BEMER is easy to use. Like it's a touch screen, and I know it's not going to mean much to you that you can run 2 applications at the same time, but I'm a huge believer in spending the least amount of time and maximizing the output that you can get. And again, so for me, like I always run the BEMER with running 2 applications at the same time, and obviously get a massive amount of benefit. Right? There's even a patented sleep program. No medical device has this, which again, when you start to understand how important the sleep cycle is, this becomes a lot of value. So you lay on a mat, and again, this mat could either be in a chair or it can be in your bed, and it's easy. It's completely non-invasive. You don't have to swallow anything. We're not poking you anything, right? So it's very easy to integrate into your current life. And it also comes with other applicators. The B spot, as you can see with this gentleman, he has it on his elbow. You could use it on your temples. Let's say the tiniest capillaries are behind the eyes, and anywhere where you have a spot where that's nagging you. Now, when I beam on my brain, I use the B pad, extremely flexible. Like you can use it anywhere around the body, around the knee, the feet, the back, the spine. And then the B sit is an optional applicator, which I actually use quite a bit because I travel a lot. I fly over 200,000 miles a year. So I have no jet lag when I use the B-sit, but it was obviously invented for people in wheelchairs. And then, but again, because of the large coil, this is an applicator you can use. Athletes use it a lot for their thighs. You can use it on the back. There's a lot of uses for that as well. Then we have one more applicator, which even though it's not that big, I'm here to tell you it's extremely powerful. That's called the B light. Now the B light, we know that your biggest organ is your skin. So just let your imagination run wild. What that can do, again, it's a monochromatic, like red LED medical device, and it has the BEMER signal in it. Yes, I use it every single day, and so does Diane, my fiance, right? So again, when you start to understand the value of what the BEMER does, like this technology, and again, understanding that it's all about cellular health, right? This literally optimizes that. And again, yes, the other devices are internal. This is more on the external part, right? But again, lots of women, of course, gravitate towards this because we all want that rejuvenation factor that this can provide. So again, it could be for skin irritations, facial rejuvenation, but it could also be for the more youthful look. And now, when we look at this pattern, which is to me the most exciting pattern, right? This is the sleep program. Now, understand your 24-hour cycle, right? Right now, my brain is in alpha state. The 5 to 6 liters of blood I have is running crazy, going to the brain. It's going to go to my digestive tract when I eat food. It's going to go to my muscles when I move around. But when, again, all the toxins that I accumulate during the daytime, when I go to sleep, where does the blood go? It goes to your filters. It goes to your kidneys. It goes to your liver. And here we have a patented sleep program, right, that facilitates that being able to happen, right? Because it's provided that you are in REM. So many people do not sleep well. If you're not sleeping well, you are aging prematurely. I cannot stress this enough. This 4-hour patented sleep program is extremely powerful. Now look at this laundry list of benefits that we have here. Again, whether it's you just want enhanced blood flow because you understand that now that the global reason that we pass, number one reason we pass is from lack of proper blood flow. Maybe you want better delivery of your nutrients, or you want to sleep better. If you're an athlete, maybe you want more endurance, strength. And then, of course, let's not forget the mental aspect of you, right? All this of the mental acuity, your level of concentration. I never walk into a room scratching my head. Why did I walk in here, right? And again, it doesn't mean you don't have a brain if you do that, but that means your brain is not optimized. So there's a lot of things here for you. And obviously, last but not least, stress. Stress is a huge killer, right? And here we have a medical device that literally reduces stress. So again, with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Kim. Thanks again for having me on.
Hey, thanks a lot, Michael. I appreciate that. And Yusuf, I think you may have to launch my camera again, buddy, before here. I can't do it on my end, so I'll leave that to you. Hold on here. There we go. Okay. So let me just get this whole thing loaded here. When I do this presentation, especially when I do it for doctors, more often than not, at this point they're going like, well, it sounds really interesting, but how much is this thing going to cost? They're not going to set me back, right? And I think it's a pretty valid question. So let me turn that around for those of you that are not yet part of BEMER and ask you, what do you think a doctor believes that they're going to have to pay for this? It's actually not uncommon that they'll come back and say, well, how much is it? Like $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. When we tell them it's less than $6,000, they're absolutely floored. Now, don't get me wrong. I fully understand and I appreciate that price is relative, right? For some people, $6,000 is absolutely nothing. For other people, this is like way, way out of their budget. Now, if you're in that category, I got great news for you. When was the last time you paid cash for your car? Most people don't, right? So why do it with your BEMER? We actually have financing available. If you have reasonable credit, it doesn't have to be AAA. More than likely, you'll be able to, with no money out of pocket and a small monthly payment, you'll be able to get your BEMER finance. So the purpose of even bringing that up is, if this in any way, shape, or form at least piques your curiosity, do your research, get the BEMER session, start realizing the benefit of what this really is. Don't let the money be an issue. The product does come with a 3-year warranty, lifetime system upgrade. We have a hotline that can help you with any kind of technical support that you may need. Now, we got quite a few people standing by here, you guys, And let me see here. Let me go to the next slide real quick. It's moving a little slow on my end here, you guys. So let's see. There we go. So we got a few people standing by, actually more people than we have on the screen here. And I just want to go around the country for you to get a feel for their BEMER experience. And I don't know where all you guys are, so we're just going to go down the list here. Hold on, I'm not sure what's happening. Let's go back. Hold on. I don't know if we got multiple clickers here. Hold on, you guys. 1 second. All right, there we go. Okay, nobody touches the mouse. Okay, let's go to Anita Green first. Anita, I'm not sure where you're located. If you can unmute your mic. If you have a live camera, we'd love to see you, but otherwise, take it away.
Hi, my name is Anita Green from Coppell, Texas, and I just started using my BEMER the week before Christmas. And I had suffered with level 10 discomfort for 1.5 years, and I was also diagnosed with an incurable degenerative condition last October. I had also had no feeling in my feet or lower legs for the last 4 years, so I was a hot mess. And I started using the BEMER immediately. My feet, I could feel the circulation in my feet, and I started journaling other benefits as well. But at 3.5 weeks, my discomfort had not been relieved very much, and I was actually discouraged and considered sending my BEMER back because discomfort was what I really wanted to relieve. So I went to the BEMER Academy and learned about the attachments. And the first time I used them, my discomfort was completely gone. And now on any given day, my discomfort level goes from 0 to 4, which I think is amazing. And at the end of February, my very baffled doctor found no sign of my previously diagnosed, supposedly incurable degenerative condition, which was amazing. So BEMER gave me my life back, and I am forever grateful.
Excellent. Thank you, Anita. Appreciate that. Let's go to Elaine Sweeney. Are you with us, Elaine?
Yeah, she's my phone. Go to the next one, Kim.
Okay.
I know I'm moving the screen, but I got to do that to get to the mouse. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't know who's next if you keep on moving the screen. So don't be trigger happy. Okay, hold on here.
I'm sorry we're moving this, but I got to try to grab this.
Okay. You know what? Let's if we can't find Elaine for now, let's go to Stephanie Nielsen.
Go to Mike D'Angelo.
Okay, let's go to Michael D'Angelo. Are you with us, Michael?
Absolutely. Coming in okay?
You're good, man.
Fantastic. Well, I've been using the BEMER now for 34 months, and it has been life-changing. I've personally exposed over 1,000 people to the BEMER, and I can't give third-party testimonials, but it does not negate the fact of what I've seen. But personally, the biggest thing was my, 36, 37 years of incredible back discomfort. Within a couple of weeks, I started feeling symptoms relieved. I had done nothing but manage those symptoms my entire adult life. By the 5th week, I still have the conditions, of course, but I don't have any of the symptoms. I'm doing many things physically much better, and then also some things that I couldn't even do in my 20s and 30s physically. So, I mean, I can go on and on because there's 15, 20 other things, but I just wanted to give you the most meaningful one in my personal life. Back to you, Kim.
Hey, thanks a lot, Michael. I appreciate that. And let's go over to Dr. Stephanie Nielsen in San Juan Capistrano.
Hey, Kim, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, absolutely. I want to tell you that I'm actually driving to go and take my BEMER to a medical burn unit. You know, many of us know that BEMER's good for all sorts of things, and a friend of mine's son got in a terrible accident and has a 3rd-degree burn. And the neat thing is that the hospital has allowed us to come up and discuss BEMER today. So I'm super excited about that. But I just want to tell you that for 10 years, I've had discomfort in my back. And I've had MRIs, torn discs, all sorts of things. And the most powerful part of that is I've worked really carefully to do all sorts of things to heal my back. And it wasn't until I added BEMER that I was able to decrease my discomfort and upon MRI, actually see physical changes. So I just want to let you know that electroceuticals are the wave of the future. And for those of you who are medical professionals, what I can tell you is I worked in medical research and pharmaceuticals for over 10 years. I'm a published author. I have a doctorate degree in pharmacy. I have a board certification in clinical nutrition. And the bottom line is the science is solid, the product is solid, and more importantly, the body is the miracle. But when you put the body in the right environment, then it will and can heal. Back to you, Kim.
Hey, thanks a lot, Dr. Nelson. Appreciate you being with us here. Let's see if we can bring on Karen. Is it Kokeni?
Kokeni.
Kokeni.
Kokeni. Karen Kokeni. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. I just love my BEMER. I was introduced to the BEMER in September of 2015, and for me, my mom was the top of my mind because she was 83 at the time. She had a history of cardiovascular issues, and so it really caught my attention for her. So after about 4 days of research, I decided to buy it. Never have looked back. I can't tell her story, but let me say that my mom's quality of life is back in order. She just turned 87. For me, the first week and a half, after 16 years of being plagued with discomfort from having fractured my left ankle twice, I was healed. I mean, just shocked me. So then fast forward, I'm a former Fortune 100 company executive and did not sleep well. My sleep today, I'm getting very deep sleep. I'm dreaming again. And along with that, I have no more brain fog, no more irritability. And all of those things seriously affected my relationships and my quality of life in the past. No more stretching and working out my kinks and discomforts in the morning when I first wake up. And I have, lastly, there's so many things, but last thing I want to mention is a circulatory situation with my fingers where they would, just a cool breeze would set them off. They would go numb, and then there would be a huge amount of discomfort, daily discomfort. 3.5 years through Michigan winters, and I no longer have to live with that. Love, love, love my BEMER. And I've also been doing and sharing BEMER full-time now since 2016. It's the most purposeful life I've ever had. So I'm in it for life, and I think everybody should deserve to learn about BEMER.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. Now, I'm just kind of monitoring the chat room here, you guys. People said, you're amazing, Kim. I know you guys are referring to Dr. Stephanie. I know it said Kim Simsby on her camera. We had a little bit of a tech glitch in here. So appreciate the comment, but I understand who you're referring to. Let's see if we can bring on Charlie Haviland. Are you with us, Charlie?
I am. Can you hear me?
All right.
Okay. Do we want video?
If you got it, absolutely.
I have it. I was stopped by the host, it tells me so. But I'm right here.
All right. Just have at it.
Okay. All right. So let's see. This start my video. Here we go. So here we are. That Stephanie can navigate a vehicle in traffic while on BEMER. I can attest to the mental acuity. So good for her and good for all of us. Hello, everybody. My name is Charlie Haviland. I'm a 61-year-old writer and Reiki practitioner from Michigan, and I was introduced to the BEMER in the summer of 2016. And what it did for me in 8 minutes had confounded my physician and my urologist over the course of 8 months. But I don't talk about that anymore because after I got the BEMER home, what it did for my 2 rescue dogs was so profound and touching. So I've got Sam with me, who's a 14-year-old schnoodle with a blood sugar regulation issue. And last year, after Sam was told that he would just have to live out his life with dignity and we shouldn't operate, I heard a human testimony with the same condition, and I started putting the B spot on his head. And after 8 days, he was jumping up and down on the bed again. And after 2 weeks, simply 2 weeks with the B spot to his head, he was chasing tennis balls in the lake. But I'd like you to meet. This is Max. Max is a 7-year-old Cairn Terrier, and 5 years ago, he contracted a deer tick bloodborne issue where he was debilitated from the from the hips down. And if we didn't get Max out in time, he would soil himself. And in the 3 years since we've had BEMER, Max has not had an episode. And also, Max and Sam. About 8 months after we got the BEMER, they went through a rigorous 13-week training program, and they're both therapy dogs today. And I thought about this morning. They're BEMER therapy dogs, and the joy that BEMER has brought to these guys. And you know, they're dogs. There are 340 million American humans that still do not have BEMER. So Max and Sam and I are so joyed to be on this journey together, and we have a lot of
absolutely. You know, we got a huge, thank you, Charlie, appreciate it. We got a huge market out there, both for people and for animals. George, I know we're running a little long. I want to wrap up with one last testimonial, then we'll wrap up this segment. I'll turn it back to you, but before I do want to go up to Whistler, British Columbia, where we got Randy Hood standing by. Randy is one of the top representatives of BEMER, been very instrumental in helping to launch Canada. So Randy, we want to hear your story, but we also want to report from the Great White North, please.
Well, sounds great. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you and see you.
Okay, well, great. Well, yeah, well, welcome everybody. And yes, we got Canada open just over a month ago. It's been so exciting. You know, we've all been waiting for a long time, and the results that we're getting up here and the excitement that we've got is just incredible. So if you have anybody up in Canada, make sure that let them know that BEMER's here now. So get them onto it. But I got introduced to BEMER. It's almost 4 years ago. David Sage and George Gossick, two longtime friends, phoned me and told me about BEMER. Turned out my sister, Linda Tellington-Jones, had one for 12 years. So I bought one immediately. My wife, Al, and I started traveling, you know, using it. After about a month, we started realizing this is a product that can totally change people's lives. So we started sharing it. For me, in the beginning, my energy levels went up. I definitely could recover much quicker after a workout, biking or skiing, sleeping better, as well as, you know, it's what it can do. I have not been sick for 4 years at all, which is incredible. So now we have 24 family members that have one. We've had an opportunity to share it with literally thousands of people and thousands of animals, and we're getting such amazing results. Kim, it's just something we recommend to everybody. So back to you, Kim.
Hey, thanks a lot, Randy. I appreciate you jumping on. And I know we got a whole laundry list of people standing by here that we had asked to come on and share their stories. I apologize, we can't get to all of you guys. We had a little bit of a tech issue and got started a little bit late, and we got a ton of information to share with everybody. So in wrapping this up, if you're listening to this for the first time, please get with the person who invited you, get your questions answered, do your own research. If you haven't had a chance to get on the BEMER yet, get a session or two and just get a feel for what it is. You may or may not have an experience initially. I was one of the few that did not. I mean, it took me about 6 or 7 weeks before I started feeling something. So don't evaluate it based on whether you feel something or not. That's not the point. You don't feel your blood flow, right? Now, what we did not discuss here this morning is behind this patented technology, there's a substantial financial opportunity where BEMER, they will pay some very, very significant professional referral fees. And we will be talking a little bit more about that later today in our training session. So if you're with us for the first time, we want to thank you for tuning in. You're more than welcome to stay on for as long as you want here for the rest of the day. George, I'm going to turn it back to you, my friend. You may want to just pause this and then fast forward till the next segment, but thanks for having us.
Good. Thank you, Kim. Thanks for that presentation. And yes, we're going to cover a lot about the company, the backing, and everything else that we would normally go through. So I appreciate that. Let me grab the control back here. Okay, I got it. Let's see. Okay, so I'm back here with you guys. Sorry about it. So let me go forward on my screen for a sec, and we'll come over to the next part. So the next part is going to be really exciting because this guy you're going to hear from is not one of the most phenomenal speakers in the company and trainers, but he really was one of the eyes and ears for several leaders on this call to really evaluate BEMER and see, you know, how valid it was before we stepped in and really put a lot of time and effort into this. And his name is Yusuf Ben Lusuf. He grew fast in our company to Organizational Director Plus. But before that, he ran for 17 years a holistic center up in Chicago with an internist, and they've treated mostly 4-stage cancer and other chronic diseases over many years. So that was very instrumental, and he helped a ton of people. So when he went out and evaluated it, he came back and said, this was phenomenal technology. I'm going to put it in our practice. And then he felt so compelled to share with other people and passionate, decided to also travel around the country and really share BEMER and get the message out, and helped us develop a very strong science presentation. So this is the part where we're not looking for people to have to learn the science. This is for the guests to understand how more in depth this is with the product and the science, and you still do a good job. And for the reps that are on the line, it's really to just give you more confidence and belief of what the body is like, how it reacts to BEMER, and what it does. So one thing that I do want to mention to everybody is, you can see on the screen it says Vimeo.com. And if you go into Vimeo.com, there is a phenomenal 35-minute BEMER technology a webinar or a training with all the details you'd want. So we are going to play this, but because the sound is 45 minutes and we have Yusuf live, we would rather see this. So let me take the thing off here, and you can see, let me do that. Okay, so now you can see the screen, right, Yusuf, the Vimeo?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this is again, Science of BEMER. Go to Vimeo.com and type in BEMER technology. I'm going to just show you what it's like, and then we'll turn it over to Yusuf, and he can go from there. But let me go one more slide here. So this is what you will see when you go on it.
Hello, and welcome to BEMER. Today, we'd like to dig a little deeper into BEMER technology. By the end of this session, you will understand why and how BEMER is for you, for life, for energy. And now the obligatory disclaimer.
Okay, so I'm going to stop the video. So that goes 35 minutes, but I'm telling you, it's excellent. Everybody that's a rep should watch that, and everybody that's a guest should take time to watch that, and you'll really understand BEMER. But with that being said, why not hear it live instead and get Yusuf and Lusif on the line with us for the next 28.30 seconds. And Yusuf, for the next 30 minutes, will share with you his knowledge and background on the science of BEMER. So thank you, Yusuf, for coming on board. We really appreciate it and helping us out. So over to you.
You bet. Do I have the control of the mouse?
I will give it to you. I believe I will give it to you. There we go. You got it now?
Let's see. No, what happened to the presentation? Okay, I'll take it from here, George. Let me try it.
I mute my line. Hold on. Let me have my mouse back. Let me mute myself out. Hold on.
You advance in the slides, George. George?
Yes, I gave him already. Let me do it again, but I got to mute. So give me 1 second before you take the slides. Hold on. So you have the control, but give me 1 second to mute. Okay, go ahead. You have it.
I don't have control. Now I do. You got to love it, folks. Technology. Okay. Okay. Well, good evening. Good afternoon. Good evening to some of you. I understand that some of you are coming from the other side of the pond, all the way from Britain and Ireland. And so it's all good. There are hundreds of people tied into this message this morning, and it's fantastic. And congratulations, not only to you, the leaders that really are trailblazing this BEMER project, this BEMER mission, but also to every single one of you, albeit, it's a whole entire family. We start as junior, we end up at OD+. But to be honest with you, absent of any rank advancement and the business aspect of BEMER, please understand that BEMER is a phenomenon in the field of holistic wellness, in the field of homeostasis, in the field of allowing the body to bring itself to a functional balance, because this is functional medicine at best. A little bit in a nutshell, as George mentioned, and I don't want to be redundant in here, about 4 years ago when George Gossage and Veronis, approached me to do a due diligence about this because of my background. 20 years ago, folks, I co-founded Tobias Healing Institute. This is a holistic medical practice specializing in chronicity. One of the the so-called incurables like lupus, Lyme disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, MS, obviously the big C, right? And diabetes, metabolic syndrome X. And after I did my due diligence to, again, make a long story short, I bought BEMER sight unseen. And we start using it in the clinic as an adjunctive therapy. What does it mean exactly? You know, when a patient's coming for all kind of modalities and therapies for their own concern and diagnosis, you know, we laid them on BEMER first. They didn't have a choice in the matter because that was part of the protocol of healing. And it made perfect sense. Hindsight, as we say, is always 20/20, right? Well, guess what? When we laid them on 8 minutes and then gave them an IV therapy, some kind of a parenteral protocol to detoxify and rebuild our body at the cellular level, the body responded. And we were so amazed, me and my partner, who happens to be, she was an MD internist. We just lost her at the age of 92, retired last year. But anyway, Dr. Tobias, MD, is also a naturopath, and that's what my field of studies. And within 2 weeks, we got some amazing positive clinical result that we never seen in the past 20 years or Dr. Tobias' career that spans over 6 decades. Imagine that. So we knew that we have the real McCoy, right? This is the Holy Grail. And with that understanding, that excitement, we further our reading of the literature that we found on a public domain like PubMed.gov, like scholarly.google.com. And we read a literature like BEMER and arteriosclerosis and BEMER and osteoblast. Absolutely amazing, goosebump material, we call it in the clinic, right? And so with that excitement, we looked at each other and said, the world needs to know about it. And so to that extent, let me give you a little snapshot of the science. And George Veronis is absolutely right. A lot of tools and a lot of understanding, a lot of material that you can find, not only in the public domain, but also in your back office, also in advancedibd.com. This is a distributor platform. So for those of you who want to dig in deeper into the science, but suffice it to say, let me segue on the presentation that Michael Warbach just made a few minutes ago and maybe further that understanding, okay? So, oh, there is a little latency in here. I notice in my mouse. Let me get the hotel, and really the internet is really quite unstable, but we'll jump around it. So the iceberg principle, folks, disease versus what? Versus cell state. And what does it mean exactly? It means that in the reality, when you start looking at it, everything is based on cell state. So what we see in the surface, like a perfect iceberg, right? It's only 5% what meets the eye. But you know, the submerged part of the iceberg, the portion actually, that ice of that mountain of ice that brought the Titanic to its demise, right? And all its population and whatnot, it is that the hidden part of that big problem. And this is very analogous to the human body. So when we experience symptoms, or either, you know, an acute situation that turn, if not attended, to a chronicity, a chronic degeneration, then you have in your hand a full diagnosis called disease and illness and pathology and so on. But understand one thing. If you take the word disease and you put a hyphen between DIS hyphen ease or disorder, DIS hyphen order, that means the body went out of the state of ease or out of order. And what is the culprit in all that? The culprit in all that, to understand really pathology and disease and illness and lack of energy and stress and so on, you must pay attention to the cellular system, because it's all about cell deficiency or cell efficiency. In other words, what we see, we are a community of 100 trillion cells, and our health is directly correlated to the state of health of that cell. Simple as that. Let me tell you something, as a matter of fact. All chronic degenerative diseases are based on the body's inability to make new healthy cells. Let me repeat this, because that's key to it, the understanding, A, of how disease come about in this frame, and then B, how BEMER, with the help of it, we're going to remedy and give a chance to awaken the giant within, meaning the body, because the best doctor in the world is certainly not the doctor. is a human body, right? And so disease, yes, chronic degeneration, all, okay? All chronic diseases are based on the body inability to make new healthy cell. So if we have a healthy cell, we're going to have a healthy body. So if you experience it from a symptomatic management of your metabolic or physiological conditions, therefore the expression of I'm stressed out, I'm restless, I'm in discomfort, out of focus, I have a low energy, I don't have a diagnosis yet, but I don't feel instinctively at par. And guess what? If you raise your hand, you're not the only one. If you use the 80-20 principle based on Wilfredo Pareto, 80% of North Americans are actually really succumbing to that fate. And pretty much I'm going to extrapolate this to all developed nations because of faulty lifestyles, faulty environment, a lot of stress. That's going to put the taxation at the very basis and fundamentals of biology, which is the cell. So if our cell is deficient in oxygen, in nutrients, in losing its ability to detoxify, and imagine that eliminating the waste through this various expulsory mechanism, like your liver, your colon, your skin, your bladder, your pancreas, and so on, your kidneys, get all the toxins out. The cardiac function, because there is a cascading effect, cardiac function will be involved and it will be subpar. So there is a degrading effect over time. That's why we call it chronic. Chronic is time. Degeneration is against regeneration, right? So if you are 50 years of age and older, I can categorically tell you that you are part of that 80%. The 20%ers out there, those are the people who understood that the health outcome is not based just on the genetic predisposition, especially right now, our understanding of epigenetics and signaling molecules and how you can turn on and off the genes to get an expression of that heredity, okay, of that predisposition. 80% is really lifestyle and environment. And as in traditional Chinese medicine, it's interesting, they throw in something else called energy. I'm talking about the environmental energy vis-a-vis to our auric field and our quantum energy within our body, because the body is electric first. So how can we remedy to all that? So we need to pay attention deep side to the root cause versus worrying about the symptoms. And incidentally, when Kim was talking about Americans spend more on drugs than all these countries, 12 countries combined of 500 million people, because I believe there is a faulty philosophy access to health. Western medicine is great in crisis care and crisis management. When I do academies, I tell as an example, if heaven forbids you find yourself in a car accident and your guts all over the pavement, aren't you glad to see an ambulance come, whisks you, take you to an ER, and there is somebody going to numb you and a surgeon going to stitch you? That's where allopathic, traditional, conventional medicine shines. But in terms of prevention, in terms of overall holistic, from the word whole, right? The sum of all its parts, to bring yourself in a state of balance and health and vibrancy and homeostasis, you have to think Eastern philosophy. That tradition that gave us, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, Reiki, Qigong, homeopathy, and the list goes on. Why? Because those philosophies are going to dig deeper. And you're going to appreciate that because BEMER was invented as a holistic device, as the go-to holistic device. Those of you who are practitioners in here, tied into this National BEMER Online Saturday that we have it, there is I get really hard with you guys because you are practitioner. If you're in a holistic field, look no further. You have no excuse. You must get BEMER. And you must tell your patient to lay down on it before you do any modulation of their body. Is that strong, guys, BEMER? And for all the reasons that I'll explain in a second. So going back to the Asperger principle, you see the problem and why. So let's go back to the cell. So when you look at yourself in the mirror and you see your physique and your silhouette and so on, guess what you ought to see? You ought to see a community in harmony or dysfunction of 100 trillion cells. That's why we thought a cell is a unit of life. And we have many of units of life, 80 to 100 trillion cells. So cell has to be healthy. Cell have to have respiration because it's a unit of life. Cell have to have cell-to-cell communication. The fluid around it, the so-called interstitial fluid, has to be clean. It's called the principle of the aquarium, the fish in the aquarium. If the water gets dirty, then you'll wake up in the morning and you find your little goldfish doing backstrokes. That's not good, right? So you got to change often that fluidity. So how are you going to achieve that? Obviously with your right nutrition, right? With great oxygen and so on, but also to give the opportunity to the cell through its expulsatory mechanism to detoxify itself. Okay, that is easy said than done, because life happens, because we're not prophets, you know? And so BEMER is going to facilitate that by extrapolation. So BEMER is actually going to create cause in causality, right? Cause and effect. BEMER is going to open the vasomotion or the pumping mechanism into the microcirculatory system, those capillaries, those 8 to 10 microns in diameter, smaller than 10 times smaller than a strand of hair, right? To push blood. And why is that important? Because life is in the blood. So science, recent science now points out to the fact that our blood system becomes subpar, right? Our microcirculatory, which accounts 74% of the whole entire most important system in the body, becomes subpar. And then therefore, by extrapolation, since is the only mechanism that's going to bring this quintessential elements that sustain the living biology of this multicellular organism, and namely oxygen, nutrients, elimination of waste at the cell, then the cells start going into a state of early death, apoptosis, or worse yet, in the cell mutation and become sick, a state called senescence, where it starts spewing out all over that interstitial fluid, all kind of toxins and the wrong signaling and the wrong communication to other cells. And that's the beginning of the cascading effect, beginning of the disease. So the cell has only one purpose. It's going to replicate those 23 pairs of chromosomes, okay, every single minute, to dictate what? How high we are, the color of our eyes, our hereditary materia. And also the cell primary concern is directly with these organelles called mitochondrion. But we have many of them within a cell called mitochondria. That thing that you see it in orange in here, right? Those are actually the factory of energy, and that energy is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Half of our body weight, physical body weight, is the production of energy, because we're going to use it about 12 to 16 hours a day when we think, when we gesticulate, when we move, all this kinesthetic approach, all metabolism, all hormones, our autonomic system, everything is based on that adenosine triphosphate. And that's why we call it the currency of energy. And we need to produce a lot of it every single day. Short of doing so, the cells start becoming sick. And now we open the 20% of that health outcome, the genetic predisposition. The diabetic going to become diabetic. The cancer genetically predisposed going to have a full declaration. As a matter of fact, cancer, like all the chronic diseases, they start at the cell and they express themselves into the organ. Whether you have a breast, colon, pancreas, prostate, whatever cancer you have in your body, understand it started right here, what you see in the cell. So the cell, and the cell. Like in real estate, they say location, location, location. In the health of the body is cell, cell, cell. You need to take care of the cell. And the cell has requirement. You need oxygen and nutrients that need to go inside the cell membrane. And most sick people, their membrane is very solid, non-flexible. So the nutrients literally ricochet, right? So we're going to upregulate that by increasing the blood flow, the hemodynamic within the microcirculatory, and bringing the body from a physiological standpoint as if we were teenagers. And that's the amazing news. And so now nutrients and oxygen go in. The famous Krebs cycle, for those of you who are practitioners and doctors, you know that important Krebs cycle, metabolism. The cell is going to need oxygen to burn all the carbohydrates, the protein in their subform, like amino acids and so on, all the enzymes and whatnot, and is going to do what? With water. That's why you need to drink water before BEMER and water after BEMER. And beyond that, you need to drink half of your body weight in ounces every single day in water. Hydration is extremely important because once the cell goes into its metabolic factor to create tissue and organs and balance, right, it's going to have toxins. And one of the toxins is CO2, carbon dioxide, and then metabolic end products. Those are the wastes. And you need water to eliminate. My good friend T.C. McDaniel, a DO in Cincinnati, Ohio, practiced till the age of 102. He wrote a book, Disease Reprieve, and he said, the solution to pollution is dilution. Here's to your honor, TC. He passed away at the age of 105. So the solution to pollution is dilution. Water is so important, guys. We have a special channel within the cell, okay, the microvilli, and also a special port to get the water, because water brings hydrogen and oxygen, which is combustion to the engine of the mitochondria. So everything is the cell, guys, okay? And why the cell is important? Obviously, because this chemical factor. See, understand this. The body, from a quantum physics standpoint, we started as an atom because atom create information. Whenever you intersect two molecule part of the atom, new information is done. You add more molecule, now you have a chemical that is done. From the chemical, we're going to have the cell, right? From the cell, we're going to make the tissue going to make the organ going to be part of the major systems, and the major systems, which is 11 of them, in this example is the digestive system, okay? That's going to make the organism. So guys, when your body is not at par, when you're stressed out, when you lack energy, when you think you're sick but you're not sick, let alone for the person that have a real diagnosis of pathology, of disease or disorder, don't look at the body level. Go all the way back to the cell. Fix the cell, and science and logic dictates that the tissue it makes is going to be healthy. Therefore, the tissue that makes the organ is going to be healthy. The organ that makes the system's going to be healthy. The system going to make the body is going to be healthy. Et voila. That's called the cascading effect. It's so important if you capture anything from this presentation, understand the cascading effect. All diseases is a cellular management, and we have an amazing device called BEMER, physical vascular device, that's going to be the jumper cable to this organism of 100 cells to feed them and cleanse them by extrapolation. Why I keep on repeating by extrapolation? Because BEMER actually doesn't deal directly with the cell. BEMER deals with the transport mechanism that carry those elements, oxygen, nutrients, elimination of waste, which is hemodynamics, perfusion, blood flow. You remember that green, good blood flow and bad blood flow? You don't want your blood flow being blotchy and spotchy and thick as if it was molasses, right? You want fluidity like once upon a time we were teenagers. Remember, you know, watch babies sleeping. They sweat every night. Watch an adult, you know, 50 years of age and older, they don't sweat typically. Why? Because that anabolic process demands a lot of blood circulation. And quote, and a sidebar to this conversation, never forget the sleep program, guys. And I don't have time to get into it. The sleep program is outrageous. Number one complaint in doctors' offices is fatigue. So this is the cascading effect, guys. Okay? So what you see in this picture, it looks like a spaghetti ball, but it is not a spaghetti ball, actually. It is the brain. And look at all these capillary, look at all this vascularization. So if you have, if you don't have 100% hemodynamic within the brain, this 3-pound mass that sustains the living biology of who we are is an important organ, and you enter into a condition called ischemia. And when you have an ischemia or hypoxia, that's the beginning of massive medical conditions and illnesses, from Parkinson to vascular dementia to stroke to TIA, transient ischemic attack, and whatnot. Any one of these pipes that you see in the screen in here, if the blood does not move in it, you have a stroke. And if you're lucky, you have the cousin of the stroke, the transient ischemic attack, TIA. Transient because you lucked out. It just was temporary and it opened up. I was reading a book actually recently, and it's scary. They said people who are over 60 years of age, they experience about 8 to 10 TIAs per year, but they were not long enough to rest that will feel them in the morning. So sometime in the morning when you wake up, guys, and like your face is kind of, you know, a little bit kind of stretchy or whatever, you might have experienced a TIA. Lucky you, it didn't last enough to be a full-blown stroke. Serious conversation, guys. This is an example of the brain. But you know, neurotransmitters arcing together through the synapses, these prized compounds and chemical messengers like serotonin, like GABA, like dopamine, that create of who we are in terms as an expressive organism, would not function if there is no proper hemodynamic, no proper blood, because there is no proper oxygen, nutrients, and elimination of waste. And yes, the brain gives you a lot of waste as well. Okay? So guys, what you see in here, we are a bloody system. That's it. You don't like it? Too bad. Find another planet. Okay? But this species and this planet, hemodynamics or blood circulation is chiefly principal and will dictate the state of health between sick or vibrant in health. That's it. That's the beginning of it all. That's why it's called a fundamental. And speaking of fundamental, okay, let's talk about the patented BEMER signal. So this is a big advent in the world of physics. This is, folks, an electronic and physics engineering feat. Now you understand why some scientists and doctors are calling BEMER the invention of the 21st century. Imagine that. And Dr. Klopp and Kafka, both of them, will be called on someday to get the Nobel Prize. I kid you not. And I know I sound boastful, right? Here's what's crazy. I'm not exaggerating one iota. If you're really digging into the physics of what you see in front of you in this screen, you'll understand the power of this signal and this resonance, which I'll talk about in a second. But look, this is actually my own writing. I recognize that. I'm glad that they're using it in the deck. An energy solution to a major regulatory system, therefore increasing the potential of health and wellness and balance. And we don't have to do nothing. You don't even have to understand the science. Only lay on it 8 minutes twice a day. That's it, like brushing teeth twice a day. And you're going to reap the benefits, because BEMER works 100% of the time, every single time, whether you feel it from a perception or a cognitive standpoint or not. Understand, you push the BEMER, say go, that wave going to go through our body and it's going to elicit the physiological response mechanism. And then vasomotion from the arterioles and venules start pumping the blood. And that's the power of BEMER. And we fall into what we call SEF, the subtle energy field. That means we are 3.5 to 35 microtesla, same energy within the parameter of the Schumann's resonance, that energy that's coming from Mother Earth, very beneficial to our health, right? BEMER is that within that threshold. That's why, folks, and you will concur with me, you turn on BEMER, and if you have a pet in your household, uninvited, cats and dogs, they'll come, they sense that beneficial energy, and they lay on it. So BEMER doesn't have dirty electricity. BEMER is not an e-smog. BEMER will ground the body, not only will open blood flow, there's another benefit, we don't talk too much about it. BEMER actually creates cell potentiation at the mitochondria level, meaning that we reestablish the parity of the electrical value of the cell. A healthy cell should resonate at 85 millivolts of electricity. As we see, a sick person is only 25 millivolts. And guess what, guys? When that cell has 1 millivolt or 0 millivolt of electricity, that's it, our demise. It's time for us to put this in a casket and bury us. Life has expired. Everything is energy. And BEMER, it creates a cocoon around it. Let's see if we have that slide. Yeah, here we go. That envelope of energy with a ground signal of 10 to 30 hertz, really gentle, at 3.5 to 35 microtesla, creates cell potentiation. That's why some of you know you can BEMERize water and change the pH of that water, right? So imagine your cell. So not only BEMER will help the blood flow, right? But also potentiate the cell. Potentiation, I'll give you an analogy. If you want to play soccer or volleyball or basketball and the ball is kind of deflated, you pump some air in it, you bring it at par, now it's bounced, now you can go and play your sport, right? Cells the same way. You don't want to sell like a prune or a raisin, you want them like a plum or like a grape. That's potentiation. And that's the cocoon. Now, interesting enough, our technology, you don't feel it. And that's why it's a challenge oftentimes, right? But make no mistake about it. BEMER is not on trial. Over 1.5 million users worldwide using it on a daily basis. And some of you on this webinar use it on a daily basis. And I heard amazing positive clinical results. So BEMER does not heal anything, does not cure anything, but BEMER is causing that causality of what? BEMER awakens the best doctor in the world, the giant within, for the body, saying now, thank you, or better yet, when you use your 8-minute BEMER, you have 100 trillion thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because now every single cell of that 100 trillion cell received its due of 30% oxygen, 31% elimination of waste, 28% nutrients bioavailability. And once that happened, the body's taking you profusely, and the body's going to do the healing, and the body's programmed to heal itself. But you need BEMER as a jumper cable. It's a little bit like your car when your battery goes dead, has nothing to do. You could have a brand new car, park it, you bought it yesterday, park it in the garage overnight, you left, the roof light on it or the headlights on it. In the morning, no engine to crank, right? So that is out of par or subpar. Your engine is not turning. What do? Take it to the mechanics to change your engine? No. We know better yet to grab a jumper cable, potentiate the battery. Here we go, potentiation again. We're going to elevate, we're going to charge that car battery, and now you turn your engine and you're going to enjoy your ride. Same analogy with the body, and it is the signal that does that. Now, why so much fuss, and why NASA, mighty NASA, became our cooperative partner in that project for their astronauts to weave, the signal within? Why? Because NASA themselves are a signal inventor. You see that square wave? NASA invented the square wave. So how come they couldn't invent the BEMER signal? Because that takes a lot of brain. And Dr. Kafka, the inventor, and Dr. Rainier Klopp, the enhancer of the technology to the Berlin Microcirculation Institute, they took the basic form of that wave, the sinusoidal wave, like my voice is a sinusoidal wave. You cannot see it, you cannot, whatever, but you can hear it, it elicits psychological response. They superimpose so many times that sinusoidal wave, and instead of having the square, triangular, single, double, triple sawtooth, we ended by having an amazing signature compound, signature wave, okay, and of this prized signal that emanates 40 peaks and valleys. And if you multiply those 40 peaks by 30 hertz, you have 1,200 stimulation peaks per second. And that's the only formula. Let me repeat that. That's the only magic formula that's gonna, in contact with the body, to say the body said, now I can pump the blood. That's the only one. This is exciting, guys, because this BEMER signal affects the tonus regulator provided by the endothelium, nerve receptors, hormones, so on, and then vasomotion is taking place, those cardiac assists. And now we have an at par circulatory system. So this actually, guys, the event or the advent that we have to celebrate, the BEMER signal. So we are a PMF device, but we are the only PMF device that is physical vascular device. Let me repeat this. We are a PMF device, pulsatile electromagnetic field device, but we are the only PMF in the world that have the capability of exactly that, which is pumping the blood, and we call it a physical vascular device, okay? So we've done a study to benchmark and compare all the other people in the marketplace that given a lot of noise. Oh, we are like BEMER and better and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? That's only smoke and mirror. You know, that's only a dog and pony show. I believe in science. And to that extent, this research involved 12 subjects over 4 months. They benchmarked and tested, and they measured BEMER against the so-called competitors, because BEMER does not have competitors. They measured all the parameters and their characteristic, which is oxygen utilization at the cell level, nutrients bioavailability at the cell level, and elimination of toxins and byproducts of metabolism. And as you can see in here, BEMER outclassed and outranked all of the other PMF. What gets really insulting in here, watch this. On the third day, they stopped the influence of all these devices on the patient that they, on the subject in that study, that randomized study, okay, to measure the residual effect. Remember, when we say 8 minutes of BEMER therapy will give you 12 to 16 hours of oxygen utilization, nutrients, bioavailability, elimination of waste, that's what you see in here. So 24 hours later, on the fourth day, BEMER actually still higher in signal influence or emanation of that resonance and that vibration as information to the body than all the other devices when they were actually turned on. So this is to add insult to injuries. It's a slap in their face. And so it is what it is. They're PMF in the marketplace, but they cannot do physical vascular vascularization. And BEMER, we buy it because of the physical vascular. NASA is interested because when the astronauts go in microgravity, they come back super sick. Bone loss, muscle atrophy, circadian rhythms out of whack. Some of them have to endure 16 months of advanced physiotherapy, and some of them will never regain the health prior to their mission in microgravity. So we're going to put that resonance, that signature pattern, that beautiful signal that we have, we're going to weave it in the astronaut suit. So we're the only one, guys, with this technology. We are the only device that is a physical vascular device. And in closing, guys, I want to make sure that we understand no surgery, no therapy, no exercise, no vitamins, no supplements, no enzyme, no cofactor, no device, nothing in the world that opened the hemodynamic or the perfusion at the capillary bed. BEMER is the only one. BEMER single-handedly has the potential to change the healthcare this country and the world, you know, itself. So the future is now bioenergy medicine, guys. Well, guess what? We are the pioneer, you know. And when you see Google, GlaxoSmithKline, and you know, getting into the field, Stanford University getting into the electroceuticals and bioresonance to bring health modulation and boosting of the immune system and a correction and so on and so forth. They're 20 years late to that race or that game or that project. So be proud of it. It's very powerful, guys. And that is absolutely amazing. And with that, guys, I want to thank you for your attention. And George, I just went 2 minutes longer. That's a record.
So those that
I had my money
acknowledge
on
it,
him.
that was good. Yusuf and I have a couple of bets going today. But anyway, Yusuf,
carry on.
As we say, that was phenomenal as usual. I always go, wow, wow, wow. And a lot of people are texting saying they love to hear more standalone, but we're going to show you some tools. And there's a lot of different areas where Yusuf has done some great videos and recordings. One of them is on that advanced IBD, which we'll go through later, where he actually did a 15 minutes on PEMF versus BEMER. And you should all get that download link eventually and use that, because I use it all the time when people are challenging me on the BEMER model versus the pulse electromagnetic fields. But you can see he's a vast knowledge, can go on forever on this topic, and I've heard it many times, and it's always great to learn and build confidence as many times as we've heard it. And for guests, that is the science. So you go listen to the other 35-minute science video that our Dr. Burka put together with the help of Yusuf to get you more information. And again, the person that brought you on this line could absolutely lead you to other videos and other spots where Yusuf goes in more detail. So Yusuf, thank you. We'll look forward to another very interesting topic that we'll be talking about this afternoon.
You're welcome, buddy.
Generation X. So thank you.
Take care.
With that, the last part of our morning presentation for the guests especially, and not that we're saying guests should get off. You guys should stay on for the whole day. It's going to be a phenomenal training and you'll learn a lot more. But the next section is we want to go through a little bit about our product. What do you actually get for $59.90, and what are the main elements of it? And again, this isn't going to be a real detailed training, but it's going to give you enough to know basically how you use the BEMER and what we do with the BEMER. And then again, those that need more information. And I'm going to get Barb on in a second. So Barb Gossett, let me just check if you're on with us. Yes.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I'll give you the controls in a second.
Okay.
So let me introduce this. So Barb Gossett lives down in Florida, originally from Chicago with her husband, George, and they were the fastest growing organizational directors in our company. They were really attributed to bringing probably 80 to 90% of everybody in this business from their research and development, and really figuring out that BEMER was a great home and career for many of us. And Barb spent the last 2 years, especially last year, we had a 20-year celebration for all the people out there that really celebrated BEMER's 20 years in existence and all the transformational stuff they've done with people's lives. And Barb probably went to 12 out of the 14 places around the country, met everybody, had a chance to train, get to know, and she really led the country in a big way from both perspective of growth of the company and from a sales perspective. So she's going to do a couple parts today, one this afternoon with my wife on all the tools and how to really grow this business from a duplicatable system of tools. But first, she's going to take some time and really go through the usages and applications. So, Barb, I'm going to go give you the mouse. Let me see what it says. Let me do that again. And then I am going to hit, you will have the mouse. And Barb, I gave you the mouse, and thank you very much for coming on. We'll look forward to your saving. Maybe you can move to the left away from the window so we don't have you're as bad as I am on the glare. So I don't have
you can't see me? That's okay. You want to look at the slides anyway.
Okay, then go off the video.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go ahead. You're on.
Thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to follow Yusuf. Isn't that fun? Yusuf does a great job always, and such a full and wealth of knowledge on so many different topics. A dear friend of ours for many years. So Yusuf, great job as always. And I am going to take you through basic usage and application of the BEMER, which I learned from the master, the best, Bettina Torres, way in the beginning 4 years ago when she first came to Sarasota, Florida, and led an initial academy for us where we kind of springboarded this whole activity that has created such a influx of distributors and new product users of the last 4 years. So we got to make sure that we mention Bettina. Bettina's traveling, and she's really been my mentor, and I just want to make sure she gets credit for all that she's done. All right. All right, so let's first of all look at what is in the box when you get your BEMER. And as George said, you know, we all know the product costs $5,990 if you're buying the Pro set. It comes in a beautifully packaged, award-winning presentation box. I know we were both very impressed, my husband and I, when we got our first BEMER shipped to us. And what comes in the package is everything that you need to operate your BEMER anywhere in the world. So this same BEMER ships all over the place, except for the fact that they may change the manuals depending on which country it's shipping from. But so you get your B box, you get your all your applicators, which is the B body, the B pad, the B spot, the B light, any and all cords that are needed to use in any country, and then all of the accessories that are used for whether you're using the B light or want to use an adapter in the car. You want to put the B body on your mattress in your bed, you get the adapter or the applicator for that. And then, of course, the plastic sleeve and all the hardware, even if you're going to mount this in your office, if you're a practitioner and you want to put it between two massage tables or two different areas and you want to have two B bodies working at the same time. So this is what comes in the box. Then we go and let's look at the actual B Box Pro. This is the operating system. This is the computer control panel of your whole system. As you see here, we've got 4 different buttons. These are all touchscreen controlled. And we're not going to go into the advanced training as you would if you attended an academy. We usually spend about 2.5 to 3 hours really going through the nuts and bolts of how to use this. But the basic idea here is to understand that you're pressing one button to activate your B body and another button to activate all of the applicators. And then when we get into the yellow and the red button, which is the sleep program and the light, there's a little different application there. We're going to just overview that very generally today. But again, know that intensity or the purple button is what you're going to use to operate your B body. So again, we have 4 modes. Purple being intensity, blue being the program mode, which again operates all the individual, the applicators or the local applicators, such as the B pad and the B spot. And then the yellow button is what controls after 6 weeks when you start, or in your 7th week when you start the sleep program and start to incorporate that into your routine. And then the red button controls the B light. And if you see here on the right side, they're showing 2 ports, A1 and A2. What you actually get with the Pro model is the ability to operate 2 completely separate programs or 2 completely separate sessions at the same time. So they can be completely independent of each other, start at different times, and that's where it comes into advantage if you're in a practitioner situation and you want to have 2 different patients on it at the same time, you can do it, or for yourself as well. So A1 operates, you program A1 and then you go and select A2 and you can program whatever you want to do on A2. Can we skip that slide? Let's go back. All right, so again, the purple button is, again, to activate the intensity mode. We've got 10 intensities, buttons 1 through 10. When you click that purple button, the second picture here is what shows you the individual intensities, 1 through 10. Level 1 starts at intensity 3.5 microtesla, 10 goes all the way up to 35 microtesla. And don't worry about memorizing that right now. Just a general idea that, again, the B body is where you're going to operate. The purple button operates the B body. So when we start using BEMER, we always want to encourage people to start slow and low. And that's because we don't know the state of health that individual is in. We want to make sure that they are beginning very slowly so that as they increase circulation in their body, if we go back to Yusuf's presentation, we're able to slowly handle as toxins are being released and things are starting to work better in the system, that we don't get feeling maybe too tired or sluggish. We should always feel better after using BEMER. So again, why we start slow. And we actually have a basic plan, which is really our only protocol when we're using BEMER, and that is where everybody should start. So the B body is your full body applicator. That's what allows the whole body to get the benefit of the BEMER signal. So here is the basic plan, and this is for use, again, only with the B body, the full body applicator. In week 1, you start at intensity level 1, and in the morning, the default on the B box is for that plus signal to be on, and I'll explain the plus signal here in a little bit. But plus gives us more energy, strength, and focus. So when we begin in the morning, we obviously want that for our day. So we start with the plus signal on at intensity level 1 for 1 full week. In the afternoon session, whenever we do that second session for the day, we can do intensity level 1 again, but again, we turn off the plus signal for the evening so that we don't have that extra energy, strength, and focus, and we're able to go to sleep that night. Many times, that's too much energy for people. I personally did not have a problem with that, but other people do. So you want to make sure you're teaching that properly and that people know that they should be shutting that plus signal off in the afternoon. Once you move into week 2, you're simply moving up 1 intensity level. So if each level is 3.5 microtesla, you're now going up to 7 microtesla, and you're doing the 2 with the plus in the morning, 2 with no plus in the afternoon. Week 3, we're going up to level 3. Again, no plus in the afternoon. All the way up through week 6, we're moving up incrementally by 1 intensity level. Once we get through week 6, as long as we've been feeling good through each week and we feel that our body is handling all that increase in circulation, we can move up at that level. Now, we should always be listening to our bodies. And for me personally, when I went from week 5 to week 6, the first time I tried intensity 6, it didn't feel quite right to me. I needed to stay at intensity level 5 for a few more days before I moved up to 6. Once I got through that, I was fine. And then starting in week 7, that's when we were able to incorporate this sleep mode, which was very exciting because I was looking forward to the benefits of that and wanted to start it right away, but didn't understand that you had to first get your body ready to be able to do that. So in week 7, now we go back to intensity level 3 for the daytime sessions. For our 2 sessions, 8-minute sessions twice a day, we go back to intensity 3 with the plus in the morning, no plus at night. But now on the sleep, you're adding 1 night per that week where you're going to do the sleep mode in your bed. And that's when you're going to use that yellow button. And again, that will be gone over with you with your mentor who's going to teach you and check in with you on that 7th week. Make sure you're using properly, understand how to set the clock on the B box if you haven't already done so. So there's some things to do, and you always want to check with your sponsor or your mentor to make sure that you're getting guidance in that. Again, week 8, we're still on the basic plan. Week 8 now is moving back to intensity level 4, plus in the morning, no plus in the afternoon. And now you're adding a second night of the sleep program during that week, and you can space it out. So if you did Monday night, you might do Thursday night for your second session of sleep. I personally found that my first night on the sleep program, I didn't sleep so well. So make sure people know that. Once I got through that first night and I started after that, the second time I did it, I was able to sleep very soundly, very well, and I sleep every night now on the sleep program for its benefits and really, really enjoy that. So week 9, now you're going into intensity level 5, plus in the morning, no plus at night. You're adding a 3rd night of sleep during the week. So again, you're realizing how gradually we're increasing the usage of, first of all, using the basic plan, the regular 2 times a day, and then adding in the sleep program. By the time you get to week 10, you can go up to 4 times a week. After you get beyond week 10, you can sleep as much or as little on the sleep program as you'd like. That's pretty much a preference. Some people find that 1 night a week is plenty or works best for them. Others feel that they have to be on it every night. I know Bettina Torres is one of those who it's critical for her to be sleeping on it every night, and I feel the same way. So again, the chart is found on page 102 of your user manual. This is the basic plan. This is the only protocol that we teach. And this again is for the B body, but people many times will try to ask, what do I do for this condition or that condition? Remember, BEMER is not disease specific. We're just here to increase circulation, and we do so by incorporating the basic plan. So here is the plus signal. The plus signal, again, provides energy, strength, and focus. When the plus signal is on, and it's a default on setting from the factory, If you see here down at the bottom of that lower circle, that plus will be on, and at the top, you'll see that little squiggly line next to the intensity mode that is currently operating on that B body. So that plus signal, every 20 seconds when it's on, shoots up to intensity 10. And that is what the plus signal does. It helps to trigger that part of the heart's helper that Yusuf talked about, which is vasomotion, and helps to regulate that in the body. So we do that in the morning, so we get more energy, strength, and focus. And in the afternoon, again, if we push that button on the bottom, that's second to the left, if we push that button off, shuts off the plus signal. And now when we do our afternoon session, it's just an intensity level of whatever setting you're at, and it does not then spike up to that intensity 10 every 20 seconds. So again, plus signal. This was a later development to the actual BEMER signal. We've got now to understand the program mode, and this is where we switch over to the blue button, and the program mode activates the local applicators such as the B-Spot, the B-Pad, and the B-Sit. So the B-Sit is an additional purchase if it does not come with your B-Box, or your BEMER Pro system or your BEMER Classic, but it is an additional purchase, additional applicator that is great for use when you're sitting a lot at a desk or you drive a lot in the car. I know many people don't go anywhere without their B-Sits either. So we activate that with the program mode, that's the blue button, and these are pre-programmed settings that are, if you see here on the right side, the lighter or the highlighted blue buttons, 1, 2, and 3, are pre-programmed settings that take that applicator through an increasing level of intensity over a various different times. So see if this next slide shows you what it is, but it doesn't. So each of those are programmed in there, and you see that there are other buttons that are grayed out. Those are for you to be able to create your own programs. Many times practitioners will do that. That's really nothing to have to be worried about here in the beginning. Programs 1, 2, and 3 really cover all of what you need to be able to do with your local applicators. If it's an acute situation, you just sprained your ankle, something like that, you want to start at a higher setting, so a program 2 or 3 would work. If it's something chronic, something you've had for a long time, you're going to use the lower setting at program 1. And that's just a general idea here. Again, we do a much more detailed training at the academies on this, so just to give you a general idea. And again, all of this is in your manual in more great detail. So again, here is the localized applications, the local applicators we call them. The B-Pad is probably your most versatile. It's got 3 separate coils in there. It covers a more generalized area. She's got it here over her shoulder. You can wrap knees with it. You can run it down the back of your leg if you've got issues with back issues that shoot pain down your leg. You can also wrap it over the shoulders to address the neck and tension there. And so the B-Pad is very versatile in that way. I like to wrap it on the lower back. Also down the spine is a good way to use the B-Pad. Then we've got the B-Spot, which is a targeted application. And again, let me just go back to the B-Pad. The signal comes out both sides of that pad. So if that pad is lying on your midsection, say covering your organs, you can put your hands on top and also get some of the BEMER signal into your hands at the same time. Whereas the B-Spot is targeted, focused energy just going in one direction. So that is great for penetrating deep into joints. The B-Pad can be used on elbows, knees, shoulders, wherever it is that you have to target a more directed energy of the BEMER signal into your body. Then we've got the patented sleep program. Again, that is the yellow button, the special button. And before you can activate the sleep program, you have to make sure that your B-Box has been set to military time. You have to set the clock, and that is done in the settings. If you see here on this picture of the B-Box in the lower right corner, there's a button called Set. In there, it'll allow you to set the time. You've got to make sure it's military time. So you set it for your current time zone, make sure it's been saved at the end of activating that clock. And once that is set, then you're able to activate the sleep program at night. It operates a little differently than our daytime program, which is only at intensity level 2, which is 7 microtesla. There is never a plus signal going on during that sleep program, and it only operates at 10 hertz frequency. So it does not alternate between 10 and 30 like it does on the normal BEMER signal. So again, that is the sleep program, and your mentor will go over more details of that when it's time to start using the sleep program in your 7th week. And then we have our light mode, which is the red button. That is the monochromatic LED red light. It has the basic BEMER wave, operates at 33 hertz. And this is great for any skin application. You want to make sure that you're utilizing the B light. And I know many ladies out there will buy an additional B light so that they can do 2 sides of their face at one time. But it's really a great applicator and a great addition to the BEMER Pro. Again, this is showing someone using the B light for skin irritations, facial rejuvenation, and just basically a more youthful look. My husband used to say this woman was really in her 70s, but we know that's not the case. So let's talk about the setting here. We got the B box where, again, I talked to you about where you set the clock. So in settings, it's activated in the lower right portion of the B box. There you can adjust volume, you can adjust the clock, as I said, you can adjust the brightness of the B box. Many times when it clicks on at night or in the sleep mode, if it's set too bright, it can wake you up. So you can adjust all that in there. Also, you can activate the high-low setting on the local applicators. That's, again, something more advanced that you can talk about with your mentor. But the B-Scan, this is really a nice little tool to use when you want to make sure that you're actually getting a signal going. Because if we think about the B body, there is no sound, there is no vibration, there is no heat. We don't know that that BEMER signal is working unless we can hear it. So this scanner, if you turn that on while the B body is on, or either any of the applicators except for the light, you'll be able to hear or give an audible sound to that BEMER signal. So it just merely detects whether or not there's an electromagnetic field emanating from any one of the applicators. And keep in mind, it is not a diagnostic tool. It's not used to determine where you have disruptions in microcirculation going on in your body. And believe it or not, people have said that. So please keep in mind, it is simply just a tool to give you give audible signal to, or sound to, that BEMER signal to make sure that your product is working and that you can demonstrate that.